Welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comics and graphic novels and updates from the festival.
Hello, welcome to episode 25 of the Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
All you bunny girls.
I was going to say happy Hoppy Bunny Day.
Bunny girls.
Yeah, trust you to do that.
Well, that's what the design
And bunny
for.
boys.
Bunny boys?
Yeah, why not?
And bunny boilers.
Maybe not them.
All you bunny boilers out there.
No.
Happy Easter. Don't worry, I'm only joking. It's April Fool's Day.
Hey! Oh, it's all rolled into one today, isn't it?
Look at that. It's just a disaster of a day. No,
but with chocolate,
no,
it's fine.
It's going to be excellent. Ha ha ha.
That's extraordinary.
Jeez. Sorry. That was awful.
For you yolks out there. I'm stopping
Stop.
now.
Stop. Let's hop along. We've got a lot to talk about this episode. So let's jump straight into...
Let's crack on! Oh, come on, that was good. No.
Let's continue. I apologise. Yeah. You finished now?
Yeah.
We went to Carlisle Comic Con. We're going to talk about that later. We've got some interviews from the show as well.
Yes.
First, we've got a couple of reviews to do.
Mm-hmm.
First, we're going to do a book called Out in the Open.
Yep.
By... Do you want to say the names?
By Jesus Carrasco. No.
It's based on the novel by Jesus Carrasco.
Carrasco.
The book is by Javi Rey, and it's entitled Out in the Open. Do you want to give us the blurb?
A young boy flees a town ruled by violence and ravaged by drought. Before him lies a lifeless expanse of baked earth. Beyond that, the unknown. Hunted by a merciless gang of townsfolk, the boy is ill-equipped and unprepared. He has no food, no water. He is tormented by nightmares. One night he crosses paths with an elderly goat herd, and from that moment nothing will be the same again. At once both bleak and hauntingly beautiful.
Which it is.
Yes.
My first thought when reading this was like a western, an old western from the 70s. I felt it would fit in that style of movies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got a young boy, as you were just saying, who sets out.
He runs away, doesn't he? And you don't really blame him.
From his life with his family,
yeah,
which isn't very nice.
Oh my God, it's horrendous.
He meets up with this goat herd and this old man who sort of brings him in to his fold and starts to father him in some ways. Mm-hmm. And it's a story.
It turns into like a safe mentor person for his
Mr. Miyagi to Daniel-san.
That kind of thing, yeah. Yeah. I would have made that connection, but yes, that kind of mentor image.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a fascinating book, I'll be honest. I really enjoyed it. The art I absolutely adore all the way through.
Yeah.
Very sort of, it's one colour almost, isn't it? You can feel the sun, essentially, is how it came across to me. The sun beating down on the plains. It's
a baked colour book.
Baked is a good word. I like that. Terracotta.
Yes. Yeah, you've got the terracotta hues in there, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it is that kind of baked hot.
But you learn throughout as you're going along the horrors of boys.
Oh God, it's horrendous what he's gone through.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's being chased by these people for the entire book.
Who don't want him really for any valid reason. They could just let him go.
They could do, but it's like he's their property almost, isn't it? And they're trying to get their property back. That's how I felt.
It's very sad, but also it's got a good ending. And I enjoyed it as a whole. Yeah. The next one, which you've not read.
I haven't, sorry.
I only just read this yesterday.
You keep doing this because it's on your Kindle, isn't it?
It is.
On your Fire thingy. And I don't get to, because it's yours.
Matt Garvey, who is a wonderful writer. He does some great works. Has done another book with Dizevez. Tell me how to pronounce that, because I don't know.
Come on, we can't pronounce anything on either of us.
He's done this a while ago, but he put it out for free this weekend we're on at the moment to people to read. And I grabbed it because the last book we read, that her art is amazing. Absolutely amazing, and the story's good behind it as well. So the Ether is about a masked, not vigilante, detective is possibly
Oh, right.
a good word. And his mask looks like it's got a map all on the face. And he's a bit like Batman in the sense that he's helping police solve crimes.
Yeah.
And he's going out, but without the superpowers essentially of Batman, you know, the money and stuff.
Batman doesn't have superpowers.
You know what I mean? Without the money to back him up.
Yeah. He's just a normal person then,
just
basically.
a normal person with some good fighting skills, essentially, going out and doing what the police can't.
Right.
Being a vigilante and roughing them up.
Step on the other side.
Exactly. There's a really neat twist halfway through it. This particular story. I mean, this is comic one of however many the story's going to last for. And it's a twist. I'm not even going to remotely spoil it because it's a simple twist, but it's a twist you wouldn't even think of.
Okay.
Don't
say anything.
No, I'm not going to. It's really pulled me in. I want to see part 2 now, which isn't out yet. And I just want to see where it goes. And again, the art is just amazing.
It is beautiful art.
Absolutely amazing. So go and check mattgarvey.co.uk and have a look at his comics he's got on there. Because he's done so much. And he's worked with so many different artists as well in these comics. He's quite prolific in bringing out these works. So go follow him on Twitter. Well,
yes,
he posts a lot. Follow him on Twitter. And we're going to talk a bit about a film.
Oh right, yes.
You say that like you're surprised.
No, my mind stopped for a second there.
Why is that? Did you have too much to drink last night?
I don't know what you mean.
In this corner of the world.
Yes.
You sort of...
I've been wanting to see this for a long time.
Persuaded me to watch this.
Yeah. It was shown at the festival last year, but I didn't actually get to see it then. So I've been waiting, and it popped up on Now TV, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2016 Japanese animated wartime drama.
Yes.
Produced by MAPPA and co-written and directed by Tsuneo Katabuchi.
Well done.
That sounds right.
It sounds more plausible than some of the names we come out with.
That's very true. It's set in the 1930s to 1940s.
Yeah.
In Hiroshima and Kure in Japan.
Yeah.
Roughly 10 years before and then after.
Yes.
The atomic bomb, which essentially it is. It's this 10-year story of
this girl growing up.
Yeah.
Basically, isn't she? She's becoming a young woman.
And married off, essentially.
Yeah, it is the story of an ordinary person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Trying to live the life when all this is going on.
With the whole war surrounding her, the bombings.
Seeing it from their point of view as well. Just from the normal person's point of view. And then when these bombs get dropped and...
But it's also not just seeing the war, it's also just seeing the life of a Japanese female of the time, I suppose. Which isn't much fun in some ways.
A lot of it isn't fun.
It's what these days you would call pure sexist way of life.
I suppose
almost
so,
forced into that female role.
Yeah, well, she was married off basically, wasn't she? And then having to live.
Decide if she loves the person she's with.
Yeah.
Which
when she'd only met them once.
Yeah.
Is quite a hard thing to take on board. And then having to move then out of your family home and live with someone else entirely. And
then seeing so many people around you die as well because of the war.
Yeah.
And having to deal with those
and
emotions and just get on with it in some ways, because you can't, I suppose, when you're in that situation. You've got to.
Yeah. I mean, she was losing her hair, wasn't she, from all the stress she was under at a young age and everything.
War,
Yeah. So, the war's all going on.
Well,
isn't
it wasn't the war causing that. That was
that's just stress of what was
family life and stuff.
So it was. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was beautifully drawn. It's all watercolor washes, which I like. So I found it a very interesting, beautiful film. But you didn't necessarily find that, did you? Did you, dear?
I felt the pacing wasn't quite right.
You thought it jumped a bit?
It did jump a bit. There were scenes that were a matter of seconds that were throwing in story arcs that needed to be a bit longer, I felt. We
both were confused at times with the jumping as to whether she was imagining it as a dream sequence or if it was real. And then it was later on you went, oh, actually,
it was all that was real.
It was
a bit confusing at times, but... I mean, the story's important.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
And to see the story from the Japanese point of view is interesting as well, because we don't generally see that. Obviously, we're in the war.
Yeah.
We hear from us and Americans.
Well, yeah, you see it from the side you're on, don't you, at the end of the day?
So it's interesting to see what they... Bear in mind, they're the only people who've been bombed in this way. What they went through and saw. And
yeah, and then the aftermath as well, because her sister and everything at the end.
Yeah.
And things like that. I won't say what's going to happen. But yeah, the aftermath was quite horrific. But portrayed in a simple way. Do you know what I mean? Portrayed in that personal way.
It wasn't portrayed in an upsetting way either. You didn't cry, even though there was a particular scene.
Oh, God.
Now, whether it was done... There's a particular scene where somebody dies, and it didn't upset me, because I think it was done... I don't know if they did it like that, designed to be like that, so it wasn't that upsetting. There was something missing.
Oh, really?
If that makes sense. It didn't upset me.
I must admit, I didn't cry at it, and I will cry at everything.
Yes.
But I thought that was quite a powerful image.
It was, but it could have been
used.
done... See, that's my problems with film. There's things that could have been directed a bit better, I feel. But anyway, the story overall was interesting and worth seeing for the horrific things that...
From an ordinary person's
Japanese
point
had to
of view.
go through. You know, let's be honest, it's the same on our side as well.
Yeah.
You know, British people went through different different issues and whatever. But,
it does just show all the same.
Just war.
Doesn't it? for the ordinary person, there's no difference either side.
I was going to sing then. What is it good for? But I'm not going to.
Please don't. But it's well worth a watch.
Yes. Yep. Basically Sky TV, it's on at the moment.
Yeah.
We've also took a trip to Carlisle Comic Con.
In the snow and the blizzards and the gales.
It was like driving through a Microsoft screensaver from the 90s on the way up there.
It was very pretty, but I did worry if we were going to be stuck in Carlisle forever.
So we got up there, got our complimentary press passes.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah, man. Went to see because we knew there's some comic artists up there. There were also some media guests, as you get at the Comic Cons.
Yep.
Including Peter Davidson.
Yep.
Robert
see him everywhere.
No, Robert Llewellyn wasn't there.
No, he wasn't there. He was sick.
Sarah Sutton, also from Doctor Who.
Yep.
Michael Carter, who was in Star Wars. Hugh Mitchell from Harry Potter.
Oh, bless
who
him.
Nobody seemed to want to go and spend the pennies to...
No, he was a bit on his own on the end there, wasn't he?
He was a little bit. Oh. Poor guy. On the comic side, Jeff Anderson, Simon Furman, Lydon White, Noel Gard, Lee Carter and Emma Vieceli were all guests at the show. Now, we spoke to most of them.
We did.
Got a few interviews coming up.
Yes.
You got a hug off Emma.
She warmed my hands up as well. She's lovely.
She completely destroyed me, as you will hear in the interview.
It was brilliant.
I didn't even deserve it. Did I deserve it?
Oh, yeah. It was the best ever.
No. We spoke to Dave Cook of Card Shark Comics. Killtopia is a comic coming out.
Oh, looks really good. Yeah.
I'm annoyed that I missed the Kickstarter on that, because the art on that is really nice. So that's coming out. We also, big thanks to James McCulloch, who is editor of Comichaus comic, linked with the Comichaus app, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
And he gave us a stack of books.
We gave him all of him.
Everything on his table. We sort of finished having an interview, and he just sort of like flipping out, and I'm walking away, and he's like, stack of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to be reading all of these. I've already read one of the books, which is a really hard read. It's an adult book, but it's interesting.
Yes.
It's worth
I won't be reading that one. It's a horror one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. A lot of his stuff is quite dark and horror based. But no, I'm looking forward to reading through them. So I've read one, but we'll review it down the line.
Yeah.
Not today. And we bought, what did we buy from Lydon? The
Mind of James
Svengel. There we go.
I was trying to read it whilst you were moving it around.
So we'll be reviewing them down the line. But the show was fun.
Yes.
I mean, it's what you expect from a Comic Con.
Yeah, but it was a friendly one.
Oh, yeah. There was
quite
lots
a few
of people. Stalls on there that were some good comic stalls.
There wasn't that many Funko Pops. It was good. It was like stuff you actually want.
And there wasn't a stand that was just Funko Pops either.
Yes, well, I bought a Totoro bag, Totoro pen. I was quite a happy girl.
Yes, you bought loads of tat.
I didn't buy tats. It's all good.
Some of the cosplays were really good, actually, as well.
Yes,
I'll give them some of that. Some of them really stood out.
Yeah, you had the Wookiee one. That was amazing. He was on
I think
stilts,
some of them were professional ones, but there was a lot of ones out there that weren't professional as well.
Just people just rocked up in their stuff.
We got a preview of the new Far Cry game, which is out now, but there was time it was like, ooh, Far Cry, it was all exciting.
Leaving the kids around the side. It's 18s only, children. And they're like, oh.
But no, it was an enjoyable trip up there, I must admit.
Yeah, we had fun.
I think I prefer the smaller ones to the big MCM. MCM ones.
I say they're friendlier and you can look. It was busy.
Oh yeah,
it was well attended, but it wasn't that. No, because I'm only short. It's usually nose to armpit in these places for me, and I don't see anything apart from armpits. So it was nice to be able to look.
So have a listen to the interviews in a moment.
Yes, watch Emma cut you down to size.
She really does. She destroys me.
It's the best line ever.
And then we'll come back and talk about the Lakes Festival a little bit more. There's some more guests announced and some stuff you've been doing.
Mike's Mutterings.
Hello and welcome again to Mike's Mutterings. One of the things I've really loved exploring this last year are some of the lesser known or niche subgenres of comic and geek culture. This episode I'd like to discuss a brand new one that's been emerging silently. It kind of snuck up on me. It's so new in fact it doesn't really have a name. My own personal descriptor would be weird 80s or alternative 80s. The whole 80s nostalgia movement has been going on since, well, the millennial switchover really, when someone decided that enough time had gone so that we can officially start reminiscing again. The further away we get from that decade, the more it intensifies, with 80s music compilations being released almost monthly, and TV awash with 80s themed talking head shows on dodgy TV content or news headlines of the times. And at the forefront of this nostalgia wave is the Generation Xers. Now, I'm actually a member of Generation X, and the 80s really was the important growing up years for me. But I don't really get this nostalgia trip to what was both the best and the worst times of somebody's life. However, that is not what the alt 80s is about. It's about the perfect 80s, the fantastical, the freedom of the 80s. And it's this idealised fantasy version that comes from only one source, and that's 80s movies where kids were the heroes. Think The Goonies, E.T., BMX Bandits, Batteries Not Included, Flight of the Navigator, even The Lost Boys, which is a personal favourite. It was always kids against the system or against a villain, or even vampires, and the adults really proved more of a hindrance than a help. And it's this perfect vision of an 80s that never was that started to invade my geek life of late. I suppose, inevitably, it started with the Netflix masterpiece that is Stranger Things. Now, under no circumstances will I be giving any spoilers, don't worry. It's a terrific series, and it's got such a wide appeal. But I will tell you that it perfectly encapsulates the alt-80s subgenre. When a young boy disappears in mysterious circumstances, it's up to his ragtag group of friends, his mother and a chief of police to get him back. They must fight government forces and supernatural powers. The weirdness factor gets ramped up to maximum when they encounter a mysterious little girl known as Eleven. The series is absolutely dripping with 80s movies, references and tropes, and if you've not seen it, you can't have failed to have seen the hype surrounding it, but for once I guarantee the hype really is justified. And it was whilst I was catching up with Series 2 that I was handed a copy of the graphic novel Paper Girls. I'd heard good things about it and recognised it from nearly every top 10 comic of the year list for 2016 and 17, as well as picking up a couple of Eisner Awards. I still had no idea what it was about and decided to give it a go. I knew writer Brian K. Vaughan from Why the Last Man and Saga, and I've always liked his writing style, but Paper Girls turned out to be a very different type of beast. Set firmly in the pre-internet 80s, it starts by introducing the main protagonists. Young paper girls Mac, Tiff, KJ and Erin out on their early silly o'clock delivery paper run on the morning of All Saints' Day, which is the day after Halloween. Their first challenge is seeing off harassment from some older boys still up from the previous night's festivities. Each of the girls have a good, strong personality, drawing richly from 80s VHS movie tropes. Erin is the outsider of the group, curious and smart. Older Mac is the cool, smoking rebel on a BMX, obviously in trouble with the law, and she has a drunk mother at home. Tiff is the techie, gadgety girl in this analog world, and KJ is the gamer who brings her underage driving skills to the party quite usefully. What follows is encounters with strange beings, alien technology, and a whole series of out-there plot jumps. It's as inventive as it is fun to ride with. Artist Cliff Chang obviously nails the late 80s with attention to detail, ranging from just the design of alarm clocks and house phones to Depeche Mode posters and Far Side calendars. The clothes and the BMX bikes were spot on too, and the flavour is finished brilliantly by Matt Wilson's clever colouring with multiple palette going onto 80s neon. A special mention has to go out to Jared K. Fletcher for his lettering. The lowercase text gives the girls a softer voice, with a bold text used for emphasis. It brings the script to life, and I don't see why so many comics always use caps. The speech is really well written, and it feels realistic. I already have Volume 2, Volume 3 is out, and Volume 4 is ready for pre-order. At the same time, in another geek corner I inhabit, I was being told about how great a new role-playing game was. Lots of veteran RPGers I knew were telling me I needed to check out Tales from the Loop from Modiphius Games. The RPG was kickstarted back in 2016 and finally got into players' hands the following year. It quickly started winning awards and became a real hit at conventions. But that's not where it all started. Rewind back to 2015, and Swedish concept artist Simon Stallenhag kickstarted his latest art project, called Tales from the Loop. The concept was a look at his Scandinavian childhood in an alternative 80s. Now his 80s diverged from ours, following the building of a particle accelerator under the Swedish countryside. This was known as the Loop. This led to technological advances earlier in high-energy physics, allowing things like huge floating air freighters that propelled themselves by the Earth's magnetic fields, and the development of advanced robotics. The book is chock full of some of the most striking imagery you'll ever see. Actual photos of typical everyday Swedish 80s life have the most subtle additions in the shape of futuristic loop cooling towers or huge robotic harvesters in the fields and retro-looking dusty and rusting service robots. A very famous image is of two children that are playing in a cornfield. One has a control pack and glove, which he uses to manipulate a huge 30-foot two-legged chicken walker, complete with his 80s retro paint job. It's just a casual everyday shot of kids playing, in the same way as they would nowadays with a remote control racing car or drone. It was a hugely acclaimed project, and it spawned the role-playing game that was kickstarted later. And the game book is just as much a work of art too, featuring more of Simon Stallenhag's work. He's also got a new work out called Things from the Flood, which is of a similar alt-80s genre. The RPG offers two loop settings, the original Swedish one and a US-based one in Boulder City, Colorado. You are invited to play kids, basically aged between 10 and 15. They adopt an archetype to play such as a bookworm, jock, geek, troublemaker, or my favourite weirdo, amongst others. You spend a lot of time detailing your characters and your relationships with all the other players, your parents and your siblings. And this is important. The Games Master will then control the game, setting challenges for the players to interact with and overcome. But unlike other RPGs, it's not only the Games Master that supplies the story. It works more interactively with the players, and they get the chance to provide part of the story themselves. It's also played out in scenes. It sounds weird, but it really works, and it results in a very 80s film-like experience. In fact, the first 4 of the 6 guiding principles of the game is probably the best definition of alter 80s kids as heroes subgenre that there is. Principle 1. Your hometown is full of strange and fantastic things. 2. Everyday life is dull and unforgiving. 3. adults are out of reach and out of touch. And 4, the land is dangerous, but kids will not die. Using those rules, you can construct adventures that really mimic any 80s films that you can think of. I'm pretty excited about playing Tales from the Loop, and I'm sure there will be many more homebrew Stranger Things adventures and the like being posted by fans online. But if pen and paper doesn't rock your boat, then check out newly released game Crossing Souls on PC and PS4. Again, you'll be playing as a group of 1980s teenagers, this time Californian suburbans. They deal with a powerful magical artifact, and it earns its retro feel by being a classic pixel art scroller with 80s cartoon-style cutscenes. As I said before, I'm not one for nostalgia. The 80s I remember had the background of escalating Cold War and constant backdrop of imminent nuclear apocalypse. But the alt 80s has none of this, and I think what got me really drawn into it was the reminder of the childhood freedom that I enjoyed both as a Gen Xer and a small-town boy. You really did spend the whole day out with your friends, trying to find adventure, biking miles and miles, knowing that as long as you were back for evening grub, your mum and dad were quite happy. No mobiles meant that social networking was hanging out at the old burnt-out cottage for us, and basically we swapped music and game tapes. I mean, yeah, that's a nice trip down memory lane to take, I think. And I think you should take it too. But first, you got to do the truffle shuffle.
Room for one lawgiver, please.
Ah, Judge Dredd. Or is it just Dread? Fancy seeing you here.
Catwoman, you also here for the Comic Art Festival or a stint in the ISO cubes?
Of course. I love to see my makers in action. Ah! Watch it, Greenie!
Careful, Hulk. In this town we have a saying. Once is a coincidence, twice is a booking offence.
I think he booked the events on the website.
Huh?
Comicartfestival.com. It's got all the perfect information about the event.
Yeah, so's my fist. Druck, I'm out of here. Not standing around with those 4 tortoises that have just entered the building. Cowabunga, dude!
Find out all about the Lakes International Comic Art Festival and booking information at www.comicartfestival.com.
So here with Dave from Card Sharp Comics. You said it was Edinburgh you're based?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we are an independent studio in Edinburgh.
So you were just talking about Kiltopia. Tell us a bit about that.
So Kiltopia is our newest comic. It's kind of inspired from our love of Japanese video games like manga films, anime, that kind of thing.
You've perked up now, haven't you?
Yeah.
I was like, hello.
So it's set in Neo Tokyo, far in the future, and the whole city has been taken over by a plague of killer robots. And the story focuses on a pair of bounty hunters who are sent in to kill the robots, but they come across the world's first sentient robot who thinks and feels and has a personality, and also hides a secret that could change the world forever. So there's almost like a crisis of conscience. Do they turn him in for the reward, or do they keep him and save the world? Don't want to say too much because it's a bit spoilery, but so it draws inspiration from the likes of Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Blade Runner, Battle Royale, sort of Asian cinema,
All of these
all
things
of that
we
stuff.
love. That just named all of the things we love.
So that's launching, said on Thought Bubble.
September 24th is the sort of public launch,
Yeah.
but we're launching a few days before at Thought Bubble Convention, So, and then we're going to go right into issue 2 on Kickstarter in February, so we're just going to keep it going from there.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yes.
I want to see more.
Yes.
So what else you got? Vessels is another one.
Yes, so Vessels is my sort of take on my favourite video game ever, which is Dark Souls.
I don't play it because it's killing me.
So obviously legally I can't make a Dark Souls comic, so I thought here's my next best thing. So it's a sort of dark fantasy world that's dying, and one day, bit by bit, this world is collapsing, and one day the fabric of reality snaps, which allows our modern world to collide headfirst with theirs. So you have a mixture of a fantasy world mixed with the modern world. Both of them are basically killing each other, and it's up to a trio of warriors, the mage, the thief, and the warrior, to save the world, basically. But it's kind of like Inception. You get like strange things like giant teddy bears falling out of wormholes and destroying villages. Just things that shouldn't be happening. And the main character is called Wake, and her power is to she can, if she dreams, basically she can pull objects out of her dreams into the real world. So if she's in a fight and she's having trouble, she can dream of herself holding a rocket launcher, and she can wake up and just pull it from behind her back and use it. It's quite trippy. It's kind of like Doctor Strange. Like there's a lot of like really weird perspectives and multi-dimensions and times, and it's really strange. But fans of fantasy will like it.
Yeah. So where can they find more information on your...
So it's Card Shark Comics on Facebook is the best place. We're also on cardsharkcomics.com, where we do a lot of sort of starter guides on how to get into comics.
Okay, that's
if anyone's interested in that.
Good.
And we just like sort of tour around. We're getting more shows in England now, so we're kind of coming south of the border, which is good. So we're getting out there a bit more.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Person.
So,
yes.
Sorry, what was your name again?
James McCulloch.
James. So, first of all, you say you're involved with the Comichaus.
Yeah. I'm involved with that. I'm the editor for the Comichaus magazine.
Yeah.
I'm the co-editor for the Comichaus magazine with Pete.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us about who've not read the Comichaus magazine. It's available on the app as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on that. Yeah, it's on that first.
Tell us what it's all about.
We'll see. So the Comichaus app is basically like a 2000 AD, but it's all indie talent that's involved. Yeah. So it's sci-fi or horror-based stories, and we try and get the best indie guys we can get involved in it, and then get big artists for the covers. To do the covers, we've had.
You had some big names, haven't you? On the
we've had like Glenn Fabry, which was. It sounds bad, but basically I'd done a talk in Edinburgh Comic Con a couple of years ago, and I said I was going to kidnap Glenn Fabry and make him do all my covers for him. And then as soon as Pete went, how do you want to do the thing? And then I was like, Glenn Fabry. And then as soon as it came out, somebody came up to me and went, I need to be worried about Glenn Fabry. I'm like, no, it's a thing. It's an actual thing. It's fine. He's still alive somewhere. You'll be in a pub somewhere. That's where you'll find him. It's fine.
That's where you should be. To be
fair. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. What else have you got here then? Some of your...
Oh, that's the guy over there. It's not my favourite. Sorry. I've been having that all day because the guy sit up there.
That's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right. So what else have you got here then?
Okay,
your own work.
I've got City of Lost Souls.
Yep.
Which is it's currently on issue 5. It's about a serial killer that kills 12 people, then kills himself and wakes up in his own personal hell surrounded by the people he's killed. So the story follows him his path to redemption while he's been hunted down by creatures to the other side. Then I've got Kid Monkey, which is my superhero book, which is basically a half man, half monkey super soldier. And basically it's a story following him through all these mad adventures. It's very rooted in the 80s because I love lots of dodgy 80s action films like Remo, Unarmed and Dangerous, and like Hell Comes to Frogtown and stuff like that. So it's very much rooted in
the
that.
80s is the current entertainment thing to me at the minute as well, so it fits with everything, doesn't it?
Bizarrely, yeah, but it was always my intention to do that because it's not really, you don't really talk about it. It's not like Stranger Things where they throw it at you every 2 minutes. It's just that's the world it's in. So that's happening. They Live's happening around the corner, and up round the bend, that's where Remo Williams Unarmed and Dangerous is happening and stuff like that. So it's like at no point do we really go on to it, but it's set into that world. So
brilliant.
The Grimes, a horror anthology series that I've been working on for a couple of years. We're only on issue 2 just now. That's with Tom Ward and Chris Welch, where we're doing that with.
Okay.
Little Girl Black is an extreme horror graphic novel about a group of teenage girls that have been held captive by a guy in his basement. Very nice. And Transylvania Nights is my new one. It's a love of Hammer horror that brought me to that, and it's basically set 10 years after the Vampire War. It looks like Count Dracula is on the prowl again, so Van Helsing takes some soldiers after him. Meanwhile, a group of circus performers find out information that changes everything that you know about it. So
that Little Girl Black to me sounds really intriguing. I don't know why, it's just been so dark. I'm going to have a look at it.
It is very, very, very dark. There's about 5 warnings before you even get to page 1.
Straight away on the front, mature readers.
And then there's another one there. Yeah. There's all the warnings.
Brilliant. So where can you find your own personal work?
It's all on the Comichaus app.
Well, there you go.
It's all, majority of it's published by Comichaus.
Yeah.
I think the Grimes, because that was before I got involved with Pete and Comichaus. So it's all on the Comichaus app. It's all on the Comichaus website as well.
It's well worth it.
See.
Get this set up.
How's it been today anyway?
It's been good, yeah. Quite interesting.
Have you had to travel far? I'm guessing.
Kendal.
I was going to say, I'm guessing it's Kendal.
It's not that far.
Yeah.
It's still an hour though, to be fair. Okay. But then where you're from?
Near Manchester.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I got here last night. It was easy enough.
Yeah, no, that's not too bad. So here with Lydon White. It's Lydon White.
It is Lydon White.
Get the name right.
Tell us about what you're currently working on. Because you've currently got a Kickstarter going, haven't you?
Yeah, so there's a couple of stuff. I've recently done a Call of Cthulhu Concertina book, which is telling H.P. Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu for a series of illustrations. So we launched on Wednesday. We're already hit the goal and in stretch goals.
I think it'll be finished by the time this comes out, but I urge go and have a look. So I've been looking at it's gorgeous. So just explain the concertina format.
Yeah, so you have to tell a story without any text, and you have to boil down the story into like 10 illustrations. So you're doing a sequential storytelling book with more splash pages. So you have to really boil down the narrative into the middle, the beginning, the end. Otherwise, you're not telling a complete story. So I did it with Bram Stoker's Dracula last year, which was incredibly successful. And then that meant that I got to do Dante's Inferno as a stretch goal. So I'm back like a year later doing it again, but with a different story because people have been asking for it.
It does look gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It looks really, really nice. So what else are you?
So I'm signed on to do Mandy the Monster Hunter, which is a 4-part miniseries from Hellbound Media. It's about Mandy, she hunts monsters. You know, it's in the title. It's in the title, yeah. So the miniseries is based on the Spindly Man, which is the Slender Man mixed with Badabook. And it's a little bit different from the other Mandy stories because Mandy's kind of met her match. So it's a long story. Mandy's usually the thing that hunts the monsters, but this time the monster's hunting her. So it's like teen horror upwards. On top of that, like I've got my graphic novels Sparks and Fallen Star, The Mind of James Sedengal, and I'm busy.
Well, that's how you want it to be.
Working on pictures as well. So a lot of stuff I've been doing for the past year has been horror. So I'm now.
Is that sort of what you focus on really? Because I'm seeing, which is great. No superheroes, but like no superheroes.
I'm actually like a big fan of like Studio Ghibli, and like you're doing a podcast. Thank you. I actually love anything as long as it's a good story. I did Hex's Waking Nightmare about 2 years ago. And from that, everyone's gone, oh, you can do horror. I'm like, yes, I can. And as a result, like a lot of people ask me to do horror books, which is fantastic, and I'm not complaining whatsoever. But I do miss daylight. I miss drawing, a sunshine and a beach and that kind of thing. Some of the stuff, people are still going to get horror from me. I've already got stuff coming out which is horror, but I am diving out of that as well, just so I keep sane and as much as I love drawing monsters and things with pointy teeth, I get to draw other things as well.
So if people want to see your stuff, where can they find it online?
You can find it at my website, lydonwhite.com. It's as my name's spelled, or follow me at Lydon Draws.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Getting better at trying to sign things. Stand up. I realised you've read the comments. So I always do like the thing and then the little flowers next to it. And I was doing one the other day, and where I was doing it standing up, like the top flower, the top petal was really big. There was a side petal, a very small bottom petal, and then quite a small. And they were like, what are they? And I was like, they're flowers. Oh God, they don't look like flowers. I'm so embarrassed. Here's my name.
So, Emma Vieceli back on the show.
Hey, you guys.
How are you doing? 1 year later.
I can't believe it's a year. That's crazy.
Full year we've been going now. So, how does it feel to be the
a
best
woman in comics?
A woman. Is it hard for you?
It really is. It really is. I feel like my hormones get in the way of the ink. Sorry, ask your actual question.
I've forgotten now. Oh, I know. How does it feel to have the best comic book of the year, in Nikki's opinion?
I'm so happy.
And that makes me sound like...
In Nikki's opinion.
Like I don't care. But no, that's not the case. I enjoy it.
Oh, you made me so happy. That was just like, I was listening to that and just smiling so much. I think did I tell you already, actually, that when you first reviewed Break, so before the Comic of the Year, we were in the car driving somewhere. I can't remember where we were, but we were listening to the episode, and you sort of introduced each book. Before you said the title of it, you'd start talking about the book, and you started saying all these nice things about a book, but I wasn't sure, and I was like, she can't be talking about Break. She might be talking about Break. And then when you finally went, so the book is Break, and I was like, yay! I was hugging
well, no, we both enjoyed it. We loved it so much.
No, I'm so chuffed. Thank you. And I know we've said before, but the fact that you said it's not a book that you would have I'll be honest, I never would, and it shows that you can't judge a book
by well, not his cover because his cover's great.
Yeah.
By just reading on the back.
Christina Strait, and the colours are so gorgeous.
So what's going on with breaks then? We've got the next part coming out at some point.
At some point. So so obviously we're limited by the fact that it's a page a week. So it's so different to doing contract work where like you're whizzing through and getting stuff out quickly. I always say if I could spend all my hours on breaks, we'd have it out so quick. But as it is, it's a page a week, so it has to run its course really. Yeah. But in terms of the art, I think I've just started on the penultimate issue of Arc 2. So we're kind of just over the halfway point now on Arc 2. So I know. Well, I'm literally drawing the pages right now, which are the biggest. This is finally the story. Essentially, we're at the point of learning Cortland's history, or Ian is learning Cortland's history, and it's amazing drawing it. Because I'm like, it's finally happening! Oh my god, all the guesses are going to be answered.
Are you involved in the writing in any way, or do you just?
Massively. It's So basically, Mullin and I wrote a book together. So the backstory of the story is almost as interesting as the story itself. Is that we both joined an online writing group. It's at a time when I hadn't written for ages because I was writing before I was drawing, but I learned to draw comics to tell my stories more than
brilliant
as an
book,
artist.
By the way. Absolutely brilliant.
So I joined a writing group, and Mullin, my co-writer, was also on it. And it was just literally a writing experiment where we had a setting and everyone had to bring a character that they maybe had a story that wasn't completed yet. So I had Cortland's story was my story and Mullin's story was Ian's story. We brought them into this sort of writing experiment, and after a year or two we started to realise these characters need to be together in a story. This is every gap in my story is filled by Ian's and every gap in Ian's was filled by Cortland. So we took it away from the overall group and just said, well, let's start it as a novel. So we wrote the whole thing in novel form with these two stories spliced together, and then we were going to publish it in that form. And then I said, you know what, there aren't enough I want more comics in the world that are this, and so I think we need to make it. Now we've got this far.
That's something you keep saying, isn't it? You want more.
Well, because I've worked on, well, I've done a lot of like YA adaptations, whether it's Vampire Academy or there's a lot of. In YA novels, there's a lot of amazing stuff being covered in a way that I feel like comics are still catching up to that, and often a lot of my day job stuff, which I still love, I keep saying to people who come to the table that I'll be drawing things that feature superheroes, spies, vampires. There's a thing that they have to be, and I think what I want to see is more comics where it's just people, because life is dramatic enough sometimes, and comics should be broad. I love all of it, that's the thing, but so with breaks I felt like this is something that I would have wanted to pick this up off a shelf, so I think, I owe it to me to do it as a comic.
No, it's brilliant. So even though it's free, we're going to wait. We can't wait to get the next part.
Thank you the Book of the Year thing made me very, very happy. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Emma.
Actually,
That's good. That's always what you want. So a lot of your work, this is Simon Furman, sorry, I better say who you're speaking to. You do a lot of stuff with Transformers.
Yes.
What is it about Transformers that particularly stands out for yourself?
It was one of the first things I really did. It was one of my first jobs as a writer. I'd worked on Screen Comic for IPC.
Okay.
Cut my teeth on that, doing some short stories, Dracula File, Library of Death, other things. But then, pretty much straight after that, and Transformers was only just starting off, I got the job doing some of the UK strips for Marvel UK on Transformers. So really it was the building blocks of my comics career.
Yeah.
And, it was also the way I got into Marvel USA, because I took over on the American comic and then started writing things like Alpha Flight and RoboCop and What If for them. So, lots of great things happened because of Transformers. And we never thought it would be still around today.
Well, yeah.
But, it's really underpinned my whole career, so I've got a lot to thank it for.
What do you think of the films, dare I ask?
Well, the sort of polite answer is I don't think I'm the target audience.
That's fair, that's a good answer.
But I actually liked the first one. I thought the first one was fun and amazing and everything else. But, I just find them a bit overlong and a bit brain deadening after a while. So
I know what you mean. It's not quite. My history's a cartoon as opposed to the comics, but I'm tempted now to start, I must admit. Jump in and try some of the Transformers comics. How was RoboCop then as a franchise for the comic?
It was great fun.
I feel I need to go and search it out.
Well, yes. It was a great fun to do. Originally it started with Alan Grant doing the writing on it, the comic. and I took over on issue 12 or 13, and I was working with Lee Sullivan, who I'd worked with before on Transformers, so it was great fun, and only sad that we only got to do 12 issues maybe.
That's a franchise, isn't it? It's a shame sometimes the way they just drop off.
But I loved it because I love the film.
Yes.
So.
Are you working, other than Transformers, are you working on anything else at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on Robotech for Titan, the comic version of the old cartoon series from the 80s. I'm working on a kids animated TV series, which is still to be announced. I'm doing some stuff for
What is it?
I'm doing some stuff for Rebellion at the moment that again is still under wraps.
Okay.
I'm working on Transformers Earth Wars, which is a game, a computer game. And my own thing, which is called To the Death, which I'm doing with Jeff Senior, and it's all online.
Right, okay.
And it's really channeling something we did in the 80s called Dragon's Claws, and taking that vibe and turning it into something new, but completely digital. So, formatted for your screen, and very much meant to be viewed, online. So
that's to/the/death.com.
Yes. To the Death with slashes in between.
That's the way to do it. That's easier.
Yeah. But yes, so To the Death is something, and we've put a lot of hard work into it. Jeff was mostly doing advertising these days. So for him, it was a great release to be able to do something very creative and mad kinetic again. So
I love, from what I can see just behind there, it looks gorgeous, the art, I must admit.
Yeah, so so we've been doing that, and we're very much looking to get that into print, maybe this year or next.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to take a lot of work to get it from its digital format into print. But lots going on.
Super, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Thanks.
How do? Welcome to Breakdowns, the comic art section of the podcast. I'm Pete Taylor. I'm a small press comics creator and illustrator. Online I trade as This Man, This Pete, and the favourite things I've drawn since last episode are more gorillas. And I've been working on a History of the Monster Kids short. Last episode, Jack had just had his bridges burned at DC. And with the comics industry in contraction and work scarce, he was forced to return to Atlas Comics, run by Martin Goodman, the man who cheated Kirby and Simon out of profits for Captain America. When Jack joined Atlas in late 1958, their offices were on the 14th floor of the Empire State Building in New York. The bullpen of staff and freelance artists at the time included Golden Age stars such as Carl Burgos, creator of the Human Torch, and Bill Everett, creator of The Submariner, as well as future Marvel stars such as Gene Colan and Steve Ditko. Their reduced line now consisted of a few Western titles such as Two Gun Kid, Gunsmoke Western, and The Rawhide Kid. Romance books such as Patsy Walker and the long-running Millie the Model, with the rest being mystery or science fiction anthologies such as Tales to Astonish, World of Fantasy, Strange Worlds, and Tales of Suspense. These titles were generally a mix of Kirby sci-fi or monster tales, a couple of fantasy or mystery stories with a twist in the tale, and usually ended with a surreal Lee Ditko tale. Jack was very much at home in these genres, and his dynamic style and outlandish designs brought excitement to the often formulaic stories. When combined with Lee's sensational titles, which were copied from the confessional headlines of gossip magazines, stories such as I created Spore, the thing that could not die, I was captured by the creature from Krogar, or Van Doom, the man that made a creature, quickly became the most energetic offerings that Atlas could deliver to the stands. Kirby revelled in visualising monsters such as the Blip, Zutak, Kra, and a personal favourite, the Glop. Many would outlive their first appearances in these mystery magazines and join the future Marvel universe. Fin Fang Foom, the giant oriental dragon who sports a rather fetching pair of purple trunks, can still occasionally be seen in the pages of modern comics. His success, however, is eclipsed by another of Stan and Jack's monstrous creations from this time, who's made it all the way to the movies. Before he met Star-Lord and Rocket, Groot appeared in Tales to Astonish number 13, 1959, in a tale entitled I Challenged Groot, the Monster from Planet X. Written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack and inked by Dick Ayers, this Groot was a much more eloquent and evil incarnation of the future Galactic Guardian and was eventually defeated by scientifically created super termites. Jack became Stan's go-to artist. His speed and flair delivered a lot of pages fast, and his design sense and vitality brought power to Atlas's covers. Around this period, Stan Lee also developed a new way to collaborate on stories with his artists. Instead of delivering a full script, where he would describe every aspect of the story and write the dialogue, Stan would give his artists a short plot, a brief outline of what happened in the issue, and leave it up to the artist to break down the story into pages and panels. This particularly suited Jack and Steve Ditko, and they routinely surprised Lee with their visual interpretations of his plots. Stan would then write the dialogue to fit the supplied artwork. This way of scripting would come to be known as the Marvel method, and allowed Lee to considerably speed up Atlas's comic creation process. Now let's leave Jack on Monster Island for a while and examine a comic genre that had fallen out of favour. When Action Comics number 1 was published in 1938, it introduced Superman and was an immediate financial success for National Comics. It brought forth a wave of other brightly coloured heroes from other publishers. High sales ensured that superheroes became a staple genre of the comics industry, but interest gradually waned. One theory is that returning GIs, hardened by their time on the front, were attracted to the more adult themes explored in crime and horror comics. Simon and Kirbys' most famous contribution to the genre, Captain America, lasted until number 73 in 1949 before being retitled Captain America's Weird Tales. It ended 2 books later without a single superhero story in its final issue. In 1950, the genre was largely dead. The only 3 superheroes that had been continuously published under their original titles since inception were Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. But even these industry titans saw their sales and the quality of their adventures decline. Through the early 50s, publishers would try revivals sporadically. One that affected Simon and Kirby directly was Atlas's attempt to revive Captain America along with the Human Torch and Submariner in Young Men number 24. Incensed, Joe and Jack wanted to show Atlas how Captain America should be done and created a new rival patriotic hero called Fighting American. After a first issue which replaced Nazis with communists as the main protagonists, the title quickly turned to parody. Neither revival lasted. After the introduction of the Comics Code Authority in 1956, best-selling genres such as crime and horror were muzzled, and DC Comics decided it was time to revisit those long underwear types. As I've already mentioned, science was in the air in the 1950s. DC Comics had a lot of success in the early 50s with a couple of science fiction titles launched by editor Julius Schwartz, Mystery in Space and Strange Adventures. Sci-fi was in Schwartz's blood. He set up one of the first sci-fi fanzines, had many contacts across the sci-fi community. He had even been H.P. Lovecraft's literary agent. Schwartz thought the secret ingredient to revitalise superheroes was science. Instead of reviving an existing hero, he decided to completely revamp the Golden Age super speedster called The Flash and assign the task to writer Robert Kanaya and artists Carmine Infantino and Joe Kubert. Showcase number 4 featured a new, modern Jet Age version of the hero, whose alter ego was forensic scientist Barry Allen. The Flash now caused sonic booms when he ran, and super feats were treated as less magical and were often explained in scientific terms. The issue was a huge success and would later become defined as the beginning of the Silver Age of comics. Using a similar formula, Schwartz oversaw the introduction of a new Green Lantern. Gone were the original's mystical powers, and these were replaced by alien technology from a galactic police force. Then, taking a lead from the newly formed League of Nations, he inspired the change of the Justice Society of America into the more modern-sounding Justice League of America. Back to our profile, and legend has it that DC owner Jack Leibowitz was playing golf with Atlas owner Martin Goodman when he mentioned the terrific sales his new superhero team was getting. The first appearance of the Justice League of America was selling very well, and it seemed that superheroes were back. Always one to jump on a trend, Goodman tasked Stan Lee to create a superhero team book for him. You know what's coming next? Yup. Fantastic Four number 1 was published in November 1961. 4 friends steal a rocket, get bombarded by cosmic rays, and become Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Girl, the Human Torch, and the Thing. It was different and a little mysterious. The cover could have been for Tales to Astonish or Strange Tales. A huge monster emerges from the ground, clutching Sue Storm. The comic begins with a playful scene where an invisible Sue pays an unsettled cab driver, then introduces the antagonistic, slightly sinister Thing. Kirby delivers an inventive, thrilling origin story, and then tops it with an action-packed, monster-bashing tale. This team of friends don't seem to get along too well, and manage to save the day while arguing and sniping at each other. There were no costumes, headquarters, or battle cries, standard superhero team staples, so the issue must have felt very different at the time. Official credits are written by Stan Lee, with pencils by Jack Kirby, and inks by Sol Brodsky. Lee claimed for many years to have been solely responsible for the concept, but it is now generally agreed to have been a collaboration with Kirby. Indeed, the early 4-page synopsis that still survives suggests that the pair were developing the story together in Lee's usual Marvel method of supplying a plot rather than a full script. Influences from the mystery and monster books can be seen in this synopsis. Initial ideas for the book included Sue Storm, the Invisible Girl, being invisible all the time and needing to wear a mask to be seen. Stretching caused Reed Richards great pain, and the Thing was an untrustworthy character working to betray the team from within. Although these ideas didn't make it into the final book, the theme of the cursed gift of superpowers would be at the heart of the coming Marvel Universe. The title was an unexpected success, and as fan mail flooded in, they realised they had a hit on their hands. From issue number 4, the slogan, "The World's Greatest Comic Magazine," was added above the title. Forget the newly forged Silver Age of comics. Jack and Stan just created the Marvel Age of comics. Thanks for listening. Join me next time as we explore probably Jack's most creative period of his career. I didn't realise my story of Jack was going to be this long, but so much has happened to him. Let me know if you think future profiles should be shorter or more concise, or if you have ideas for other artists to feature. You can find me at thismanthispete on Instagram and Twitter. Email me at thismanthispete@gmail.com. My comics are available at thispete.bigcartel.com, and my website is at thismanthispete.com.
Destroying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might keep that forever.
Well, you can download this episode as many times as you want. Free for everybody.
It's going to be my new ringtone for you.
Why? I don't deserve that. Do I?
Probably.
Right, the festival has announced a second wave of guests for the festival in October.
Yep. Tell me.
So, tell you.
I do know, so but I was just like being everyone else.
Veteran British comic artist Ian Kennedy and New York illustrator Stanley Chow.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got Stephen Appleby, Sarah Begum, Corey Brotherson. Surprise, surprise, Corey Brotherson with an ever a guest. After Yoms decided to sort of say he was coming.
Yeah.
But no, looking forward to seeing him. Stanley Chow, Alan Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing writer. Ian Kennedy, Steve McGarry, who's doing the football-themed exhibit, I believe.
Yep.
Garen McNee, Emmy Nimininen.
What was that?
I don't know.
Do I have to go? Do.
And Ken Niamura, which is brilliant. Because you're getting Ken and Joe, both of I Kill Giants, coming together.
Yeah.
Which would be really good. Obviously, here a lot of the names there are Scottish. I can't even do. That's me banned from any Scottish related things.
Yeah, they're just not going to let you in now.
But no, brilliant names with the lineups we've already mentioned. And this again is still just a start. There's so many.
Oh yes, there's more to come.
So what we're now deciding is who from this list we need to try and interview. Now, some of these names probably won't happen till the weekend itself. Things like John Wagner, Alan Grant. Hopefully we want to get those. I want to get Ken and Joe Kelly together, maybe.
Yeah.
I doubt that'll happen before the weekend.
We can try.
But there's some names there that we could probably quite easily get before the festival. So if there's anything anyone here you want us to speak to, let us know, and we'll do our best.
Yeah, to try and organise that.
To try and get them organised. That'd be cool. So, how's our comic going?
The one that we're doing together.
Yeah, the one that we're doing together.
It's all right.
It's all right. Okay.
It's on pause.
It's on pause. Why is it on pause?
Because I had a better idea.
So what are you up to at the minute, Nikki?
I might be doing a comic all by myself.
Okay.
I was like, don't need the dead weight of Ian. So I had this moment. It was like an epiphany. And that's the right word, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I had this sudden thought of how to do a comic that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying about
nothing?
My ideas?
I know your ideas are fine, and I can still knock up your comic, not a problem.
Knock up your comic. In other words, I can still do it half-arsely. I'll put effort into my own.
Well, my one's watercolour, so there's a bit more work involved in my one. I'm doing well. I can.
So what's yours going to be about?
It's a visual representation of what happens when you're in the midst of an anxiety attack.
And what's it called?
I don't know. I'm having an anxiety attack after deciding what to call it. I don't know.
It's called the Visual Dictionary of...
the Visual Dictionary of Nikki's brain. As an anxiety sufferer, I thought it might help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not doing it to help anyone as such. I just thought it's kind of interesting to get it down on paper, how it feels for me personally, in a way to try and understand it more, I suppose, from my point of view.
Okay.
So I started doing these little drawings, and actually I've posted some online, and people have come back and said that's exactly how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm carrying on.
Although no more posting online. You need to...
Yeah, I'm not going to post any more online.
You can't put the whole thing out
there. No. Well, I've done it so you don't get the whole panel.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there will be no more online until it's done.
So what's the plan?
What's my plan?
Yeah.
I didn't realise I had a plan.
Have you not got a plan?
No. There has to be a plan.
Good job I'm here. We've set up a website for Nikki.
Oh, that'd be it.
It's not quite complete, but it's going to be under nikkidraws.pictures.
nikkidraws.pictures.
How cool a domain name is that?
It's like the best.
She's going to be putting out the book eventually.
Yes.
And then we're going to do some prints and stuff as well.
So that's it. That's what we're doing.
Set up a little shop.
Eventually.
Down the line.
Yes.
So keep an eye out.
Watch out in 2021.
Essentially, she's going to be a small-time creator.
Woo!
Small press.
Very small.
Yes.
Very, very small. But yeah, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought, really, that I'd ever want to do a comic, to be fair.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's a non-verbal comic, isn't it, as well?
Oh, there's no...
It's all about the art.
There is words, but the
feelings.
words are worry, anxiety, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is no panels.
Script as such.
There's no script. It is just a visual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just wanted it to be beautiful yet powerful. There you go. A bit like me. Beautiful yet powerful.
Okay.
So I think I've drawn a bit on my Ghibli love with it. But yes.
What, you mean the story doesn't go anywhere?
Shut up. There were panels of peacefulness in amongst the turmoil. There you go.
Okay.
That's going to be my grab line.
Talking of Ghibli.
Yes.
So how about that? That was pretty good.
Well
that
done.
was almost planned.
It's almost like we segued into that nicely.
My Neighbour is out, our first episode of our new podcast.
Yes.
Where we discuss...
Go on. Nausicaa,
Valley of
the Wind. Well done. Clever
not
book.
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Or is it Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, Nausicaa.
Oh, no, it's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
It is,
because it's her name. So you're confusing me now.
So it's a different podcast feed, so we're not sticking it on this same one.
No.
Search My Neighbour and have a listen to us talk all about Norsca. It's going to be a monthly show.
Yep. Watching Laputa this afternoon.
Laputa's the next one we'll be talking about. They're going to come out on the 20th of each month. So, yeah.
It keeps you topped up with us, really.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Because people need
rambling
that. Yep.
With our history of Ghibli told in a rambling way.
That'd be us.
The bits we can remember.
Yeah.
So, but it's had good numbers downloaded. It's done well considering it's
new.
The first one of, I think people like Ghibli, and there's not many Ghibli podcasts out there.
No, I know.
Like, I can only find one proper one.
Yeah, you see. See the niche.
Unless there's a Spanish one as well.
Yes. I'm not very good on Spanish, though.
No, I don't really understand it.
I did do my GCSE in Spanish.
It's a bit foreign to me.
Oh.
That wasn't meant to be funny or anything. It's just,
okay. That was awful, though.
I know.
If you were meant to be funny.
Coming up, we've got a private screening of I Kill Giants through the festival.
Oh, yes.
Like superstars we are. It's not just us.
No. I think the cinema's going to be filled.
Yes. We'll be reviewing that down the line. Now, next episode's a bit different because we're going on holiday.
Holiday.
So there will be a different episode next time, which we will explain then. Following that, we'll be able to review I Kill Giants.
Yep.
We've also got volunteer meeting coming up soon.
Oh, yes.
For the festival, so we'll be able to talk a bit about that as well. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Enjoy the next episode, which will be a bit different.
Yeah.
And then we'll see you on the other side of that.
Woo.
Thank you very much.
We'll be all tanned and everything.
Where are we going again?
Norfolk. It might be warmer
tanned
down
from
south.
The wind, you mean?
Windburnt.
And
sand blasted.
Have a good Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
And see you soon.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.
This podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.